A brand new season of Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe is about to get underway. 10 minutes to go until the first of two races, both over 50 minutes duration here this weekend at the Paul Ricard circuit in glorious conditions with a really big crowd on hand. If you're a GT fan, then it is a weekend for you. Not only is there Super Trofeo, there's GT4, there's modern day, and also revival GT3 racing as well. And with anniversaries to be celebrated of Lamborghini Super Trofeo, another mouth-watering selection of cars ahead of the grid as you look down onto the pit straight. And a very busy grid it is, with the teams and with VIPs and guests all having a look at the latest of Lamborghinis that are going to go racing. But ahead are, for example, one or two of the cars from the brand's past, which are still as mouth-watering as ever. 50 minutes with a mandatory pit stop, between 20 and 30 minutes. You don't have to have a co-driver in Super Trofeo. That regulation continues, but if you are on your own, you have a slightly longer pit stop to do, just by 3 seconds, to try to balance things out between the soloists and the double driver entry, because if you're a soloist, you've got the advantage of knowing what the car and the track feels like going into stint 2, whereas if you're fresh into the car, it's going to take you a little bit of time just to play yourself in. So to try to balance things, that regulation continues. They'll have one formation lap very shortly, and then we will be ready to go for 50 minutes of racing. David Addison trackside. Dakota Jane is down on the grid. We'll hear from her shortly as the teams then will get set for the final countdown, and then we will be ready to go. Last year's champion, Adam Patera, the pro champion, that is. Pro-Am is one of the other 4 classes that we have. Georgi Dimitrov, Stefan Guerin, champions last year. Amateur honours last year went the way of Massimo Giglia and Pietro Perolini, and Karim Auger was the Lamborghini Cup champion. Not all return for this season. There are people returning, though, after successes of years past, such as Bronek Formanek, who was the Pro-Am champ back in 2024. He won last year's GT2 European Series and comes back to Lamborghini this year to see what he can do. Other names that we've become familiar with over the years include Stefan Lemray, who is one of the busiest of drivers, finds something to race, it seems, somewhere every weekend. And also coming back is race winner of last year, Paul Ricard. He missed an event due to lack of funding, but Paul, very, very quick driver indeed. So, with Huracans and Diablos and Gallardos making their way, and Countach as well, making their way around the circuit for their parade lap, then the teams on the grid getting set for this first race of the European season. One car with a drop of 2 positions for causing a collision in qualifying is that of Philippe Tang, but the last season for the Huracan will shortly be underway. Pole position for this first race going the way of Silas Ritter. It's a qualifying session per race, so you start the race for which you have qualified. You take your time, and that puts you to the grid. Super Trofeo, which in its modern incarnation has certainly produced not only good racing, but very big grids. There's also, of course, the Asian equivalent, the North American series as well. The regional rounds go through to October. And then they all merge for the World Final weekend, where the final rounds of all the regions take place Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, it's every man for himself for the World Final. And this year it will be at Monza in late October. There, looking down onto the grid, the Oregon team gets set, and it is an Oregon team entry on pole position. Silas Ritter sharing with Patrick Fraboni, with the piratical Oregon logo you can see on the side of the car. And for Invictus Corsa, it is going to be Sergei Astafiev and Jonathan Cecotto to start second on the grid, and Jonathan Cecotto is going to be the start driver. So Silas Ritter, who was quick last year, will be certainly a man to watch in the opening stint. We know that he's good, and he's got the experience of the car from last season. So straight away, you can anticipate that he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, and that pole position just continuing to underline Silas Ritter's pace aboard the Oregon car. Right, let us head to the grid. Dakota Jane has Andrea Reggiani of Lamborghini Squadra Corsa. Let's join Dakota.
A beautiful, bright and sunny grid down here for the first race of the Super Trofeo season. And I am joined by Andrea Reggiani. Andrea is the new head of motorsport at Squadra Corsa. Andrea, what's it like being on the grid for the first time, being the head of motorsport?
It is. It is very exciting for a number of reasons. For me personally, it's the first race in Europe, so the first race I will never forget. It is the start of the last exciting chapter of the Huracan Super Trofeo. Next year we start with the new Temerario, so that will be the next chapter. But for the moment, we look forward to this fantastic season to end this glorious history in the best possible way.
Thank you very much, Andrea. We'll let Andrea, he's got other stuff to do. But as he said, it is the last season of the Super Trofeo Huracan Evo 2. So let's just recap a little bit about the car. This is the car right here. It is a 5.2-litre V10, naturally aspirated. It can develop over 620 brake horsepower, all running through the rear wheels. Now, there's a 6-sequential gearbox powered by X-Track. This is the car on pole number 36. So I'm going to come over to the driver here. Now, Patrick, if you want to move around here so we can have a little chat. Now, we've talked a little bit about car performance. We're going to talk about driver performance now. We're going to do it in Italian because Patrick is Italian, and obviously we're live on Sky Italy as well. So, Patrick, sei tua seconda stagione e tu sei ancora la più giovane pilota della griglia. Anche tu hai un altro pilota teammate accompagna tu per questa stagione. Come è andata? How are you feeling?
No, mi sento molto bene, sono pronto per questa gara. Il nuovo compagno, Silas, è veramente bravo. In queste sessioni di prove libere si è comportato veramente bene, adesso partiamo in pole e speriamo in un'ottima gara.
Now, a little bit of translation about what Patrick, thank you very much, Patrick, good luck. What Patrick said is he had a very good free practice and he's looking forward to getting started with the season, obviously with his new teammate. This is Silas, who will be starting on pole today. A little bit of variation. Now, all the cars do look the same, but they can actually change a few things on the car. They can change, obviously, tyre pressures. They can change springs. They can change wing position. They can change ride height. And they can obviously change drivers, as well as traction control and ABS. So there's a lot going on. Let's get ready to see the balls be released.
Dakota, thanks. So we already have dramas because one car is being given a penalty. It is the car of Umar Abdullah Basalman, and it is a drive-through penalty for not respecting the pit exit light. So this is the car that is provisionally penultimate on the grid. Umar Abdullah Basalman had an off in practice and had to use a spare car for the rest of the weekend. So he's already had dramas, but now a drive-through penalty is going to hit him as soon as we get underway. Right, there, looking further onto the grid, is 31. That's Jonathan Cecotto, one of the two sons of Johnny Cecotto, the former motorbike Grand Prix winner turned Formula One race driver, turned touring car champion. First, he drove in touring cars for Volvo, then for BMWs with success. And with everybody having the same base car here, you're looking at the different classes based on the categorization of drivers. There is Pro-Am, where you have a gun for hire with a gentleman racer. There is Am, purely for the gentleman. And for the Lamborghini Cup, either your older gentleman racer or your complete novice to the sport. And all four classes always are very competitive indeed. You can see into the cockpit as the grid now with the 1 minute board being shown starts to be cleared, and the engineers will fire up engines, then make their way off the track. The leading car, the Lamborghini Urus, will take them away for the formation lap. It will be one of the new Lamborghini Temporarios that is the safety car, should it be required. The race director, Alain Adon, will have his eyes peeled on the opening lap particularly to make sure that if there is drama, it can be attended to swiftly, because we know that certainly turns 1 and 2, that initial left-right sequence can be a pinch point. So the cars, and there are 30 of them, give or take, about to be released for this formation lap. Last of the Paul Ricard grid personnel make their way off the grid. Green flag showed at the back to say that we're all good to go. Away goes the Urus lead car then. And very shortly, engines will, if not already fired, definitely be so, and then the cars will be released. And the way that the formation that works is the Urus goes first, so that when now the green lights go on, the cars can chase after it and therefore get some proper heat into tyres and brakes, rather than being led away straight off by the Urus and having to go at its speed. They can accelerate on to catch up. Bit of weaving will go on to get the warmth into the Hankook tyre, on which everybody runs in Super Trofeo these days. What, third season now for Hankook, and the car's now coming through turn 2 with Silas Rutter, the man that starts on pole position. Jonathan Cecotto will be with him at the front of the grid. Third is Marzio Moretti, quick and Italian GT, and then it is Nicola Pujati to start alongside in his first season in Super Trofeo. Fifth on the grid will be Jerzy Spinkovic, back. There is his orange and black car, back after an injury last year, after an accident in testing. Lining up alongside him is Matthias Salonen, then Paul Ricard, a man to watch, and Kevin Gilardoni, who is another very, very quick driver indeed, the previous champion. Ninth is Mons Tallinn, 10th is the Belgian driver Stefan Lemeret, who always seems to find homes in championships over the year. Then you've got Finn Green, new to the championship, the quick Brit. Josef Knopp will start 12th, lining up alongside. 13th is a driver that won in GT2 last year, Alfio Spina, and alongside him is the GT2 champion of last year, Bronek Formanek. Then Jonathan Privitello and Nathaniel Barabi come next, ahead of Jakub Noll and Nina Østergaard. On the 10th row, Francesco Turzo starts alongside Alessio Ruffini. Then Gregor Mokczulski for GT3 Poland, coming back to the championship, will start 21st, and 22nd on the grid Ulrich Niebo-Niels. On the 12th row, Adalberto Baptista, the experienced Brazilian, and another very experienced, but this time French driver, Claude Gosselin, who was racing in the FIA GT Championship in the 90s. Holger Harmsen shares the next row with Petar Matic, then Christian Bortolato and Umar Abdullah Basalma, with Philip Tang at the back of the grid, given a two-place grid drop for causing a collision in qualifying. So, rolling start, the cars don't stop on the grid, they go straight into racing come the end of this lap, assuming that race control are happy with everybody's position. And here is Nathaniel Barabi's car, number 22, weaving around, generating some warmth into the tyres, ready to go racing. This one of the Rexel Villorba course entries. So fans on hand in big numbers to watch the start of the race. Then the cars getting themselves in that Noah's Ark 2x2 formation behind the lead car, which will then start to peel its way towards the pit lane very shortly. Then it is up to the front row drivers to hold station, and then we can go racing with that long drag down towards turn 1. Pole position here on the inside for that first left-hander. So advantage to Silas Rutter, switching teams for this year, going to Oregon. But with this being the first round, new partnerships, new drivers coming into the championship as well. Predicting winners in all the 4 classes, very difficult indeed. It should be a really interesting race, this, as there Milos Pavlovic, very experienced driver, previous class champion, looks on. And he will share with Alessio Ruffini as last year then. So the cars now make their way up towards the final corner, the Virage du Pont. Into the pit lane comes the lead car. It is now up to the front row then to control the pace. Silas Rutter on pole position, Jonathan Cecotto alongside him. The lights on the gantry, then red at the moment, will go to green, and then race 1 of Super Trofeo Europe ready to go then. A grid full of Lamborghinis about to be unleashed at Paul Ricard. Up towards the lights they come. Lights go out, we go racing, and it's a good start made from the outside of the front row by Cecotto, but not as good as Silas Rutter, who does get his nose in front as they run down towards turn 1. Another of the Oregon cars in the background, looking as though possibly that was Alfio Spina putting all 4 wheels the wrong side of the white line. That may get looked at. There's a bit of drama in mid-pack as somebody gets sideways, and with a touch of hip and shoulder there, being forced out wide is Silas Rutter. That is going to give the advantage to Cecotto, as Rutter now blends back onto the racetrack, heading down towards turn 3. He's got the lead back. Interesting way of doing it, but Silas Rutter has the race lead. Jonathan Cecotto to the inside line now, down towards turn 5. Can't do it there. And there on the bypass, car that had been forced wide now able to rejoin. So if you get it wrong at 3, you have to go all the way around the outside of 4 and 5, and then you can rejoin much, much safer than trying to jump back into the middle of the pack. So clock starts to tick. Cars onto the Mistral straight for the first time. Rutter versus Cecotto here. Jonathan more the experienced driver of the two in Lamborghini terms. They make the run now up towards the First of the chicanes, hard on the brakes. It is still Rutter in the lead. Cecotto having a cheeky look. And then in third place, you've got Nicola Poggiati then in the Villorba Corsa car. Lazio Moretti has dropped back a little bit from third on the grid. Another one chops the chicane. Looks like Bronek Formanek's car, the Michenek Motorsport entry, as the leaders now come up towards Senior. Speed building the other side of that chicane, and it remains Silas Rutter in the lead then as they go through Senior for the first time. Stefan Lemre, number 27, in the very patriotic Belgian liveried car, the red, yellow and black colours. He's on the move as well. Now into Le Beausset, long right-hander. You need to try to veer off the corner if possible here. You look at another of the Oregon entries. 61 is Josef Knop. This further back is Nathaniel Barabi looking to go around the outside. Finds the big high curve on the outside of Le Beausset corner. And a spin already. That is at Le Beausset. And the car in question will try to get back and moving as quickly as. So the rest of the pack go through. Indeed, we've got two cars that have got embroiled in all of that. Try and work out in a second who else we have lost. That looks like Petra Matic's car, number 3. It is. Petar Matic gets going again. He's another regular in Super Trofeo, but will unravel the identity of the other car in a moment as the leaders come by then at the end of the opening lap with Silas Rutter leading Cecotto. Poggiati is third. In fourth place is Matthias Salonen. Down to fifth has gone Moretti. Sixth is Kevin Gilardoni. Yet Spinkovic is seventh. Stefan Lemre is eighth. Ninth is Paul Levet and Nathaniel Barabi 10th at the end of lap 1. So there is Nicola Poggiati. Good first lap from Poggiati. And now let's see what he can do about improving that position yet further as the Carrera Cup Italy driver accelerates on. Umar Basalamah comes down the pit lane to serve that drive-through for ignoring the pit lane lights. So that's going to drop him even further away. I think one of those that we'd lost on the opening lap was Ulrich Nebo-Niels. Yes, it was. And another car stranded then. So the race officials having a look to see what else has befallen people on the opening lap. Up to the chicane. Lead gap suddenly is shot up. Silas Rutter now getting away from Cecotto as a bit more temperature comes into tyres and brakes and the confidence level rises. So Rutter getting away from Cecotto in second place. Poggiati is third. Then fourth, Salonen. Fifth is Moretti. And the rest of the pack wriggles out of the chicane then. So there is Petar Matic, whose race is going from bad to worse. Another drama, that's coming out of turn 4. He's got back and going, but that's a second spin. And we also understand the Privitellio's entry is rather smoky. Donovan Privitellio is at the wheel of the car at the moment. This is another of the Rexel Villorba Corse cars. There it is. He's not at the wheel anymore. He's bailed. So Privitellio Jr. is out of the race as battles rage on at Le Beausset on this lap 2. It's been quite a busy first few laps of the race, or corners of the race even, but now things are starting to settle down a little and Silas Rutter is trying to build that gap, although others now pushing on further down, including the bright yellow car of Mats Tallinn, one of the Lippert entries there, number 44. And an incident already under investigation is between Cecotto in 31 and 38, we understand, which is Philip Tang. Well, that can't be true because they're opposite ends of the grid, so it must have been Tang and Matic, I think, rather than Cecotto's car, but that's what the timing screen says. So the car that's on the outside of the front row and the car that was last on the grid, I don't think they've made contact on the first lap, but anyway, that's what the timing screen for the moment at least claims. That'll get sorted out in due course once everyone has a look at the dramas. Yellow flag you can see there in the background because of that car that has ground to a halt. Replay of the start. Have a look then on the right of the screen as you watch to see Spina there get himself over the blue, very nearly up against the pit wall. So you could argue that he's going outside of the track to try to gain an advantage down to turn 1. And that also may well get race control excited as the cars then dived into turn 1. And there was a little bit of nudging in the mid-pack. 1 or 2 got delayed. But this was Cecotto on his toes, trying to find a way up past the poleman. Silas Rutter didn't give him much room, did he? Rutter having nowhere to go on the outside. 3 wide behind for third place. But Rutter eventually blends back on and is just able to get the lead back before he has to hit the brakes. So Le Beausset has been the pinch point, and individual spins by the look of it. So Nebo losing it, and also Petar Matic, and then Matic had another drama, this time at turn 4. Rides the curb at 3, lost all adhesion, and around he goes. So busy it has been at the start of the race, and we're only on now lap number 3 as the cars come out of Senior up towards Le Beausset. And around this time goes number 6, which is Finn Green, the British driver, former Ginetta Junior turned single-seater racer, and Was he pushed or did he fall? We're about to find the answer. He was pushed. There was contact from one of the Oregon Pirates. So around goes Finn Green. And although he's able to continue in the race, that's cost him about half a dozen places, if not more, in fact, as he has to wait for the next wave of cars to come streaming past. Rutter, in the meantime, leads. And there, up towards the end of the lap, you can see the way that the gap has come back down again. Last time, it was 11/10 of a second. Cecotto now is storming on again. Yellow lights, yellow flags greet the drivers as they come up towards the timing line. So through they go. And the leaders go by. So Cecotto and Rutter now being looked at for the incident at the start of the race. It was that replay we saw a moment ago coming out of turns 1 and 2 that has attracted attention. So Silas Rutter leads the way, but now race control having a look at what happened on the opening lap of the race as they come up through turn 3 and then 4. And then hard on the brakes, and some cars down to first gear even, so you get the drive off the corner, and then speed building all the way down that next right-hander, through which the leader goes. Silas Rutter then up front, back into the championship, having impressed last year. And the Danish endurance racer, he's done a bit of Ginetta GT5s in the UK as well for the Breckle Racing team. He's raced touring cars, both the Citroën DS3 Cup and TCR in Denmark. So an experienced driver, his second year in Super Trofeo, and Silas Rutter leads the way from Cecotto in second place, and then Poggiati in third in number 16, Nicola Poggiati, who's come from Carrera Cup Italy. He's next in the queue as the cars again accelerate now along the Mistral up towards Senior. And having said that the gap was 11/10 2 laps ago, last lap it was down to 6/10, and Cecotto is on a mission. Lemere's under attack as well by the look of it as they come up towards then the right-hander of Senior. That going through is Kevin Gilardoni, number 72. Gilardoni in the car run by DL Racing, sharing with Simone Acquinta. Right, 22 is Nathaniel Barabé running out of road at Le Beausset. Doesn't want to fight the car, it might be on the wrong line, but if he suddenly tries to snatch it back towards the line, he risks losing it, so he has to just let the car feel its way back towards the apex and carry on. Lemere, in the meantime, riding the curb then as he tries to find a way back ahead of Paul Levet, number 66. Levet getting his way up through the order now, and Levet going after Jerzy Spinkovic. Stefan Lemere, who's raced in pretty much every GT championship and style of GT car going, massively experienced driver, very quick also in prototypes, an LMP3 regular class winner in Asian Le Mans, for example. 61 there running wide behind as they came onto the pit straight again was Josef Knopp. But the leaders go by with the first 10 minutes of the race done, and don't forget pit stops come after 20, 10-minute window for the drivers. That's Lemere leading his class, Stefan Lemere in the Royal Écurie Azur entry. It's an AM class car, sharing with Rodrigue Gillian. Stefan Lemere, sort of an AM plus, given his experience and speed. Good battle behind him, because there, look, diving down now towards the turn 3-4 sequence. Got the move being made by the Oregon car. So Josef Knopp and also Adolfo Spina making progress up the order. Now back onto the power, on towards Mistral they will go. But Silas Rutter's advantage, 0.8 of a second for the race lead. The rest of the pack now storming along with Bronek Formanek in the red, white and blue colours at the very back of this queue. So Formanek trying to make progress as well, back into the championship after winning the GT2 title last year and 14th at the start of this lap. There's that leading line that's growing a little bit. Rutter, Cecotto, then Poggiati, then Salin, and then Moretti, the top 5. And not really much of a gap separates any of them right now as they again go up towards Le Beausset, into which turns the race leader, Silas Rutter. And somebody there has got dramas because a wheel has come off the car, and stranded, as you can see, is Finn Green. Now, we did see him have contact, but thought it was on the other side of the car. Either way, wheel off, and there it is, perched by the side of the road. If that rolls into the middle of the track, then that's going to make life a little bit awkward. Yellow flag then at turn 5, so that will be in the first sector. And I just wonder whether we might end up here with a safety car to move that from the edge of the road. And that, therefore, would potentially mean that all the gaps close up. However, the race control team will be having a look at this with these pictures, also with the circuit CTV cameras. 34 being given a drive-through by the look of it. And that, as the cars go over the line, is Alfio Spina, and that I suspect is for the overtaking outside the white lines. So 34 being given a drive-through penalty. Meanwhile, number 44 loses out. Mons Tallinn is going to be mugged here because he was a bit slow coming out of turn 2 and loses the place, I think, on the run now down towards turn 3 as Josef Knop goes storming by. This is Nathaniel Baraby's view. And he's losing out as well, diving down towards turn 5. It's this part of the racetrack where that yellow flag is. There you can see, and there's the stranded car with the recovery vehicle ready to try to take that out of the way. But with the wheel off, it's going to have to be lifted potentially. So that does make that corner under yellow flags for quite a few laps, I would fear. Marshall's given permission to go trackside and they can try to sort out that problem. But for now, at least, the race continues, albeit under a yellow flag at turn 5, but no requirement as yet to neutralise the race. And that's good news for Silas Rutte, who is trying to build a gap to hand over to Patrick Fraboni, his co-driver, from whom we heard on the grid as they come again out of the chicane on the Mistral. There you've got Formanek sitting on the back of 61, Josef Knop. And Knop has dropped, in fact, over that last lap down into 13th place. Now, this is a battle between Pro-Am cars, but at the moment they are arguing over 4th and 5th place within the class. Formanek on his toes, the driver from the Czech Republic, looking for a way back up the inside, can't do it, turns through the corner. So Bronek Formanek in the Michenek Motorsport powered by Bagheera entry, trying to find a way past Josef Knop, with whom he's had some good fights in the past. Formanek, as I say, last year's GT2 title winner and returning to Super Trofeo. Had a year away to go and explore something different and comes back to Super Trofeo this season. Leaders have gone by. Silas Rutte, the leader, by 0.7 of a second. So he's maintaining a modest gap over Jonathan Cecotto. There you can see the drive-through legend flashing for 34 Alfio Spina. And there he is coming into the pit lane. So the message has got through. Down the pit road he comes, and Alfio Spina then losing heaps of places. And of course, all of this comes ahead of the mandatory pit stop that everybody has got to do in about 6 minutes and 40 seconds time. That's Formanek then. It's a very long pit lane here as well. So as the cars are, in some cases, already down at turn 5, maybe turn 6, Spina is still driving out of the pit lane. So he's hemorrhaged a whole heap of time. Drive-through penalty here really does hurt. Long pit lane. Leaders then making the run again up towards the chicane. And as they do so, it remains Silas Rutte ahead of Jonathan Cecotto for the race lead. 0.7 of a second at the start of this lap. Very deep there, coming down towards turn 5. I think that was Jakob Knoll getting it wrong, just ahead of Adalberto Baptista. But he actually got away with that. He went deep into the corner, but manages to power out the other side. So Jakob Knoll heads up towards us. One of the AM-class cars goes towards the chicane now. Ran a little bit hard on the brakes and into that left. And then eventual right, there's a little bit of a straight between the two as the cars then wriggle their way now back towards the Mistral straight once again. We've had on this lap an absolute best first sector posted by Mons Tallinn, the Swedish driver, starting to climb back up the order as the pit window is not that far away as they again get up towards Signe. Through the right-hander they will turn. So Formanek goes through, and then behind him now, with Jakob Knoll having benefited from Spina's drive-through, and Alberto Baptista, number 14, comes next. So you've got Jakob Knoll second in AM to Stefan Lemeray, and the leading Lamborghini Cup entry at the moment, quite a long way down the order, is Baptista, 16th overall. So the race leaders cross the line. The gap is up to a second again between the top two. Meanwhile, you're looking there at Adalberto Baptista, 16th overall, and the leading Lamborghini Cup entry for the real gentleman drivers. And the pit window, as I say, not that far away into the last 5 minutes of this first stint for some of them. If you are the slower of two drivers to the car, you'll bail early and give your quicker co-driver the maximum time available. If you are evenly matched with your co-driver, and that's the case in the pro class, then you might split it pretty much 50-50 if there's very, very little to choose between you in terms of lap time. As towards the Mistral once again goes Silas Rutte, the race leader. Jonathan Cecotto still there behind him in second spot, and the gap between them hovering around the 1 second mark. Now, Cecotto is going to give way to Sergei Astafiev, who is new to the championship, whereas it will be Rutte handing over to Patrick Fraboni, who went well last year. So you'd still think advantage Oregon, But here, you can see the way that Cecotto is trying to keep that car in contention. Into the pit lane has come Christian Bortolato, but that's early if it is a regulation pit stop. So that suggests a problem for him. And that car then is not the only one in the pit lane at the moment, in fact. So there is Cecotto in second place, turning through. The mandatory pit stop times, incidentally, 99 seconds for the double driver entries, 102 seconds line to line for the solo drivers, because they have that advantage knowing what the circuit is like. But the majority of cars in the leading group are double drivers. I think the best of the soloists is Jesse Spinkovic in 6th place in the unique racing entry, and he's dropped off the back of the leading queue. There he is in the orange and white and black colours there, just going through in the background. So Spinkovic, former Clio champion, in 6th spot. Race leaders up towards the timing line. This will put 8 laps in the book as they break the beam, and it remains Rutter from Cecotto. Last time it was just about a second. This time it's down fractionally to 8/10. Still Nicola Prujati is third, having made that work at the start. And dramas is that Baptista, whose Oregon car has looped it, coming up towards the end of the lap. It is. So the Lamborghini Cup leader, Adalberto Baptista, has had a spin, and he's trying to get the car going, but it does not want to play. It does now. That was at turn 11, so the yellow flag that was there will be brought back in. The road will be clear, and a red-faced Baptista will continue on his way. Another incident that developed early on is between, as you see Baptista's spin in replay, Finn Green, when we saw him be tagged into a spin by Stefan Lemeray. He's been given the blame for that, and that's going to be looked at by race control as well. So they're busy with incidents, but Baptista, I think, did that one all on his own. He has rejoined, but he's dropped a long, long way back now. And in so doing, will give the class lead in Lamborghini Cup to Nina Østergaard, who is also new to the championship. Nina Østergaard, the shipping company owner, going nicely as the leaders, again, power their way up towards senior. And a few laps ago, it was a leading line of 5. Now, Prujati and indeed Salonen have dropped off the back a little bit. Matteo Moretti, slightly mystifying, having qualified third, now a rather distant 5th in the race. So it makes one wonder whether the car has a problem, or Moretti himself, because he did hurt himself in a skiing drama at the start of the year. So I just wonder whether he's actually 100% physically, or whether he's struggling in some respect. Not that I'm trying to put the blame on the driver, but it could be the driver in some difficulty rather than the car, because we know Moretti is normally quick, and at the moment he ain't staying with the leaders. So the cars come towards us. As they do so, this is the end of lap number 9, and the pit window beckons. We're about a minute or so away from that, as the cars now, as you can see, brake for the Virage Dupont. The nose sort of drops towards the ground. 88 then is Mattia Salonen up towards the timing line. Salonen is closing on Prujati, who's not that far behind Cecotto anymore, and the lead gap has gone back up to 1.4 seconds. It's become rather elasticated, all of this. The orange car just going out of shot. Jesse Spinkovic is the one that's done the fastest lap of the race. So Spinkovic still pressing on to good effect. And now driver 2 getting ready. Not everybody has a co-driver, but those that do now starting to think about pit stops and when you make them. So in the case, for example, to take one at random, Alessio Ruffini, Milos Pavlovic. Pavlovic the quicker of the two. Ruffini will want to be in as early as is possible to give Pavlovic as much time behind the wheel as can be achieved. And this is where the teams need to keep an eye on the clock and where the car is on the track, because if they can get the car in early rather than lose a lap or have to do another lap, then it all plays into their hands. Leaders, for example, are on the Mistral straight. Some of the slower cars towards the back are only just now heading towards turn 12, and the pit window is open. So you could, if you were a back marker, come in now, whereas the leader's got to do another half a lap or so. Battle on there. 22 is Nathaniel Berraby, battling with Bronek Formanek. And those cars accelerate their way along the Mistral straight. Formanek trying to fight back, gets up towards the chicane. Is there an opportunity to go for the inside line? He thinks about it, he has a look. He's not really close enough, so hard on the brakes. Very deep though goes Berraby. That compromises the run through the chicane, and Formanek not really able to take full advantage of it, but it does prove to him that Berraby can be forced into a little mistake. Now, the leader is under investigation, possibly for being off the road and then keeping the lead on the first lap. Now, he will argue he had nowhere to go, but race control's having a look. That is into the pit lane 69, the car of Niels Ulrik Niebø and now Matthias Kroner, the Danish pair. So that's a regulation stop within the pit window, and it will be 99 seconds line to line for that crew. It's a double driver entry. Rest of the pack then accelerate their way again on towards the corner of Bendor and then on towards the Virage du Pont at the end of the lap, out of the Virage de la Tour. There you can see Nathaniel Berraby as he accelerates his way now towards the pit lane, and he takes Fomanek with him. So in they come. Pit window, only 10 minutes. It is a long pit lane here, so the teams, if they've thought about this logically, will try and stagger their temporary positions within the pit lane. Of course, the garage is given to GT3 teams for GT World, but the Lamborghini squads come and camp out for their sessions during the weekend. So there you can see the teams with the lollipop to tell the driver where they need to be aiming for. Fomanek is the one looking for his area, and he finds it and he stops. The team will go to work. There's not much they can do. Maybe adjust tyre pressures, maybe clean the windscreen, definitely change driver. And then it's all down to the stopwatch to make sure you don't release the car too soon. Fomanek will give way to Anthony Pretorius, who was quick last year, the South African driver. Meanwhile, leader stays out, so Silas Rutte not yet in for Patrick Fraboni. Cecotto, I think, will stay out to the bitter end to do as much as he can before that car is given over to Sergei Astafiev, who will do the second stint. Cecotto, who's been a former World Final winner, Middle East champion as well, sharing with Frederick Schandorf a few years back, in second spot at the minute. And the race currently with 27 minutes and change still to go. 7 minutes of the window, therefore, as the lead car, Silas Rutte's entry for the Oregon team, which has done well over the years in one-make Renaults, in World Touring cars for Alfa Romeos. The car skips over the curb there, coming out of the Virage de la Tour, but I don't think it's compromised Rutte's lap. But is that suggesting now that he's heading for the pits? No, far from it. He's doing another lap, and so is Cecotto. So from pole position, Silas Rutte in the multicoloured Oregon team car up towards the timing line once again. There are track limit warnings floating around, and I just wonder whether any of those penalties or those transgressions may become penalties later on. Through they turn, the leaders. There is Alessio Ruffini giving way now to the hugely experienced Milos Pavlovic, who is another driver who over the years of Super Trofeo Europe has been a champion. He was both the European champion and indeed won the World Final back in 2014. Meanwhile, Silas Rutte still leads the way. Turns his way down towards turn 5. That in second spot, Jonathan Cecotto. Jerzy Spinkovic, by the way, is pitted. So the stops now are cycling through the regulation pit stops. You see how much curb is being taken there by Silas Rutte as he tries to shorten the lap and give himself as much room to play with as possible. Back onto the Mistral straight now. Makes that run up towards the chicane. And Jonathan Cecotto at the start of the lap, 1.2 seconds back. But Rutte, the class act at the moment, nobody seemingly being able to go with him. Big snap of oversteer midway through the chicane, though, there. Rutte corrects it, powers out the other side. Milos Pavlovic has pitted. That's Jerzy Spinkovic, who is in, and he's waiting for his 102 seconds to tick away, some of which will tick away as he drives down the pit lane. The ideal is to be 102 seconds and a tenth when you get to pit exit, but not under, because if you're under, then the penalties start to come to redress the balance. That's Cecotto making his way now up through Le Beausset. Goes a little bit wide. Spinkovic's ready to go. The Hankook tyre's about to start to move as he accelerates away now from the pit stand. Down the pit lane he goes. That in the pit road is Bronek Fomanek, who hands the car over to Anthony Pretorius, former front runner in the South African Volkswagen Polo Championship, 8th in pro in Super Trofeo Europe last year. Leaders are both going to do another lap then. Rutte and Cecotto staying out for one more passing at least of the line. So through they will come. Silas Rutter goes by. Cecotto in second spot then as they break the beam. I just wonder now whether Matthias Salonen is not closing up a little bit. Yeah, last time he was a tenth or so quicker than Cecotto. This time he's nearly a full second faster. So Matthias Salonen there really is pushing on in these last few laps before he has to hand the car over. Salonen charging out of turn 2. Now, it is his pace because his lap times are good and he's getting quicker, but interesting also to see the way that Cecotto is dropping away from Rutter. Now 1.9 seconds, so is the Cecotto car with some sort of a gremlin, having been challenging for the lead early on. Now you can see it's really fallen away and falling into the clutches of Matthias Salonen for third place. Salonen new to the championship this year out of the German GT4 championship. And Salonen, who will hand over to Henry Tuomala, is up from 6th on the grid. So it's been a good stint by Matthias Salonen, this. And you can see there what the lap times have been like over the last 3, with Salonen the consistently quicker of the 2. And all of this is great news for Silas Rutter, who's getting away in the race lead, starting to build the gap now over here, 2nd and 3rd places as they come out of the chicane once more onto the Mistral. And the run now on towards Senior. Stefan Lemray, by the way, the leading AM, still 6th. Cecotto is leading Pro-Am. Meanwhile, that's the pit stop for Josef Knopp to Pietro Perolini. Perolini, who was AM champ last year with Massimo Tiglia. So the Oregon team checking and adjusting if they need to tyre pressures, and then they'll send the car back down the pit lane once the car controller is happy. What you desperately do not want to do is misjudge this so that you exit the pit lane before your allotted 99 seconds. At the halfway point, all the track limit warnings are reset, so anybody that was sort of on the cusp of a penalty now can breathe a sigh of relief. That's Stefan Lemray, still leading in AM before he gives way to Rodrigue Gillion. And as you might expect from Stefan, it's been a really good stint. 60 runs coming now up again towards the approach to the Virage Dupont, but he may indeed head for the pit lane this time. Rutter has stayed out, Cecotto is in, Salonen is in, Moretti is in, so 2nd, 3rd and 4th down the pit lane, and we'll see in a moment whether Paul Levet is in. I think no, he's going to stay out. Lemray is in, Mons Tallinn is in. So now Silas Rutter continues to lead from Paul Levet, and we've got 2 minutes and 6 seconds of the pit window remaining, and a lap is 2 minutes and 6 seconds. So I think Rutter should be okay to be in the pit lane, but it's going to be really tight before the pit window is closed. As long as you're in the lane, you're fine. Levet, though, in 2nd place now, whose last lap was a 2:07, might be a bit more vulnerable. So we'll need to keep an eye on the clock here, because if you are stopping outside the window, in other words, if the pit window is closed and you're not yet in the pit lane, then there'll be a penalty for that as well. So Paul Levet, number 66, the car of VSR, Vincenzo Sospiri Racing. That might be one that's just slightly misjudged the time here. So Jonathan Cecotto out of the car that was in 2nd place. Sergei Astafiev into it. Jonathan Cecotto helps with the strapping in of the incoming driver, will impart anything he needs to about the nature of the circuit maybe, or conditions where perhaps the wind might be affecting the balance of a car if that's the case. So the pit lane is fairly busy still, quite a few of those leading cars on pit lane, and Silas Rutter continues to charge on. Paul Levet in 2nd spot, number 66. That 22 was the car started by Nathaniel Barabi, and he has now handed that over to Hugo Giraud. Now you can see as the cars leave the pit lane and blend back in, how the order will shuffle accordingly, and they do so now with 20.5 minutes to go. Leading car is coming now up towards the pit lane. Through goes number 44, that was Mons Tallinn who started, and the car is now being driven by Axel Bengtström as the leader is down the pit lane then. So all is good for Silas Rutter, and all is good also for Paul Levet. So yes, he's made it in with a handful of seconds to spare. There he is in the background. It's a long pit lane, long entry, a long pit lane all the way down towards the exit, which is the braking zone for turn 1. And drama for Spinkovic, who's had a big off there. Yes, Spinkovic's back after an accident in testing last year, and he's had another drama here. He's taken the rear wing off the car. That, by the look of it, is coming out of turn 7, where you're on the power heading to the Mistral straight. It'll be a yellow flag. And Jerzy Spinkovic then just at the end of the pit window, he was on an out lap. He'd done his pit stop and he's had a big moment. So Jerzy Spinkovic's best of the solo drivers off the road spectacularly. So we'll see whether, again, this needs to be covered by a yellow or anything more draconian. A 5-second time penalty is being given to the race leader. So Silas Rutter, there he is, now handing that car over to Patrick Fraboni, has been given a 5-second time penalty. Now that I can only assume was for running off the racetrack at turn 2 and rejoining in the lead. That's Jonathan Cecotto, who was involved in that drama. But he's looking at the pictures, and he will no doubt, if asked, give his opinion on what happened. Fraboni blasts away. So a 5-second penalty issued for Rutter. Now Fraboni at the wheel of the car, down the pit lane. So Patrick Fraboni slots into the queue. That's the car of Petar Matic just ahead. And we've still got that yellow flag down at turn 7 with the demise of Jerzy Spinkovic, as the race now has 18.5 minutes to go. Not a set number of laps, remember, timed race. The flag goes out the first time the leader crosses the line. Once 50 minutes are up. So 36, the lead car. Now Patrick Fraboni at the wheel and trying to build as big a gap as he can over the opposition. Fraboni drove in the championship last year, having come out of karting. And another of the young guns that we've got in Super Trofeo Europe this season. Along the Mistral goes the Oregon car, race leader for now. And the yellow flag, as you can see from the graphic, still on display at turn 7. So we've lost Finn Green with his 3-wheel car. We've lost Donovan Privitello, and now we've lost Jerzy Spinkovic as well. Back onto the power now goes Patrick Fraboni. And at the end of this lap, we'll start to get an idea of the proper order after the pit stops, with 17.5 minutes of the race still to go. So Patrick Fraboni into the car. Rodrigue Gillian has gone off as well. Now that was the AM leading car, the AM class leader, when Stéphane Lemray was behind the wheel. That is also around the turn 6-7 part of the circuit, I fear. I think he's lost it on the opposite side of the road to Spinkovic, which was probably under a yellow flag anyway. So dramas for Rodrigue Gillian, and that means that Renaud Kuppens is going to take over the lead of AM. Here's the replay. Little bit of curb strike, it unsettles the car. Gillian goes around. Does he hit anything? Oh gosh, yes he does, quite significantly he hits things, and that's done the rear wing. He limps on, but all of Stéphane Lemaray's work is undone by that now somewhat battered car of Rodrigue Gillian. He's done the rear suspension, as you can see. Suddenly there's a bit of axle tramping going on. So Gillian, if he gets to the end of the lap, it'll have to be in the pit lane, but certainly the car is, to all intents and purposes, now out of the race. Now the other car that's suddenly come into the mix now is number 15, which was Nicola Poggiati. It is now at the wheel of it Benedetto Strignano. Strignano up into second position and within 5 seconds of Fraboni. So things are getting interesting on track with a shuffled order. Number 4 there goes through. That is Claude-Yves Gosselin, massively experienced French driver. Aboard number 23 through Le Beausset there is solo driver Francesco Turzo. But up front, battle is on here. You can see an effort being made to the inside. Oh, so nearly contact as Milos Pavlovic tries to wriggle his way up the order. Peter Müller's car is the one just ahead, and Pavlovic, who's been a multiple single-seater champion before coming in with great success to Super Trofeo, looks to the inside at the Virage Dupont. There's a big gap for him, and Pavlovic needs no second invitation. Through he goes. 15.5 minutes are on the clock. Leaders come over the line. Now, the race leader not only has that 5-second penalty, but also now is under investigation for the pit stop. If it's been short, as you see more dramas down at turn 5, then Fraboni is in for an even tougher life. So there's going to be an awful lot, not only on track, but also with the time penalties to be applied at the end, just to shuffle the order a bit as well. And Fraboni is currently 3.8 seconds ahead of Strignano. Meanwhile, let's hear from Silas Rutter, was the race leader. He's now with Dakota.
So while all that was going on, I'm down in the pit lane with Silas. Silas, you had a great first stint. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but obviously you've been given a 5-second penalty, and now, you don't know this, but I do, you're under investigation for the pit stop. What are your feelings now?
Obviously not too good, because we were leading and my stint was very strong. I just tried to manage the tires for Patrick, for his stint, and tried to manage the gap to Cecotto. So, in my opinion, I did everything I had to do, but you're telling me it's because of in the pit.
Now you're under investigation as well in the pits, but you still have the 5 seconds as well.
Well, I need to re-watch the footage then, because I don't really know, so no comments so far. I need to re-watch it, yeah.
Thank you very much, Silas. Disappointing for Silas.
Indeed so, and it could get worse as the gap is coming down on track anyway. Fraboni is being caught by Strignano, irrespective of any penalties. There are more yellow flags flying. We've got one at turn 10 now, as another car has had a drum. But Benedetto Strignano then, former Carrera Cup Italy and Italian GT driver, chasing the leader. The gap is coming down. So unless that penalty disappears post-race, Fraboni is already behind this car on corrected times, but Strignano would like to win on the track. Take the checkered flag first. Lovely drift as he comes through the chicane. And now we've got a yellow flag again at turn 6. So marshals are being busy, and that's largely because of all these dramas that we've now got dotted around the circuit. Up towards Senior they come. 13 minutes on the clock. Patrick Fraboni, race leader, being caught by Benedetto Strignano. In third place now, it is Simone Iaquinta, who's taken over from Kevin Gilardoni. That's another car that's come up the order quite nicely. Gilardoni did a good first stint. We may not have seen too much of him, but Gilardoni was certainly pushing hard. He was the 2021 champion, and he's now given over to Iaquinta, who was twice a Carrera Cup Italy champion. So you get the feeling that there's quality on grid this year, don't you? Up towards the end of this lap, which is lap number 17, comes Patrick Fraboni. In the background is Benedetto Strignano, who is getting closer and closer and closer. He's already within the 5 seconds of the penalty, which the team no doubt will try to argue about, but the penalty is being offered up post-race by the stewards. And Strignano, 2.4 seconds back last time, is getting ever closer. As there you can see Axel Bergström, number 44, involved in a big battle as he comes up towards the line. Pietro Perolini is with him, but Bergström in the yellow livery just for the moment being able to hang on to that place. They come up towards the end of the lap. And as they do, power on and up towards the line. Also in there you've got Manuel Cristobal, number 66. Fraboni led over the line now by just 1.8 seconds from Strignano. And Iaquinta in third place is lapping quicker than the two ahead. So Simone Iaquinta is getting ever nearer to the top two. And with just under 12 minutes to go, this is all building up nicely. In fourth place now, it is Henry Tuamala. In fifth is the yellow car just out of shot of Bengström. This is sixth. This is Cristobal versus Paolo Viglieri. And this is also the leader Pro-Am now. So down they come towards turn 4, and Manuel Cristobal just ahead, but only just in the Pro-Am contest. He's taken over the lead of that after the demise of Roderick Gillon. So Miguel de Oliveira Cristobal has taken over from Paul Levet, and he's under attack from, as I say, Paolo Viglieri, as the two of them hit Mistral straight once again. Cristobal is another of the drivers who is new to this championship, although go back 25, 26 years he was doing Renault Clios in Portugal. He's under attack, as you see, coming up towards the chicane. He's been a class winner in the Spanish GT Championship. He's driven most recently in the GT4 European Series, but now adapting to Super Trofeo. He's got a good co-driver in Paul Levet. Let's put the car into the mix, and up towards Senior they come as we nudge the last 10 minutes of the race. So 66, 6th overall, leading in the AM class, and Paolo Viglieri looking to try to find a way by as the cars again dive through Le Beausset. Meantime, number 11, Anthony Pretorius, has taken over from Brian Formanek. He is next in the queue, behind, a long way back in the queue actually, and coming through the chicane. You've also here got the car of Renault Kuppens. This is the one that leads in the AM contest now. Forgive me, Cristobal is Pro-Am, not AM. Apologies. So this for AM leadership is Renault Kuppens, and Lamborghini Cup honours to 67 currently, which has now got Peder Müller at the wheel. That was a car that was put into the Lamborghini Cup quite late within the weekend. So Renault Kuppens here, who's taken over from Jakob Knoll in the other Michelet Motorsport entry, heading up out of Le Beausset now. Renaud Kuppens is somebody else that goes back a long, long time to FIA GT days. It was him and Bas Lines that used to share the Gillette Vertigo a long time back. Right, we've heard from Silas Rutter. What about Jonathan Cecotto? Well, he was in that early battle and he's with Dakota.
Jonathan, mega stint from you. Obviously, your new teammate, Sergey, has gone in the car now, so you've dropped down a few places, but you had a really good stint. Now, you are one of the only people on the grid who have raced in Europe, Asia, and America in Super Trofeo, so you have the best insight. What do you think the grid's like this year in Super Trofeo Europe?
Well, not to brag, I didn't only race everywhere, I also won everywhere. But the grid is competitive here in Europe, that's for sure. I'm very happy to share the car with Sergey, which is his first race this year. And he has very little experience, so it's quite impressive what he's pulling off with the little experience he has. So yeah, it's a pleasure to be with him. I enjoy the time, not only in the car, but also outside the car.
And obviously we saw that the start was under investigation, but just talked to Silas as well. In your opinion, what happened?
Well, the first corner was to the left, and I was on the outside. It was tight, but he left enough space for both of us. And so on the corner to the right, I did the same, and he went very wide. In my opinion, we need to investigate this after the race.
Okay, thank you. Let's get back to the race.
Right, to add to the woes for the lead car, it's now got an extra 1 second time penalty for the pit stop being too short. That's what's left of Jerzy Spinkowicz's car out of the race. So Fraboni leads, but with 5+1 seconds of penalties. 5 for the first lap off track, and then a further 1 second for the pit stop being too short. So you can see what's happening anyway. The gap is coming down and down and down. It's 0.4 of a second, but Patrick Fraboni, whatever his race time is, wherever he finishes on the road, add 6 seconds. I think the race is going to go the way, though, of the car that's in third place at the moment, because Simone Iaquinta is getting nearer to these two. He's going to benefit as well because they're about to start squabbling. And as long as Iaquinta can keep out of trouble and not get involved and not get any damage, then this race should come to him, because you've got the penalty for Fraboni, and he's quicker than the car that's way off the road there. Strignano in second place on the road. Benedetto Strignano runs second for the moment. If you apply the penalty, he's the real race leader. So all the while here, Iaquinta is getting closer. And Patrick Fraboni is on borrowed time as far as leadership is concerned. We've got 7 minutes on the clock still. Out of the chicane they come, back onto the power then as they make that run again along the remainder of the Mistral Straight, heading up towards Signes as they go. And so Patrick Fraboni leads, but he does not have the pace of Strignano behind him, nor of Simone Iaquinta, who is doing a very, very good job. That car that was started by Kevin Gilardoni has clawed its way into the mix, and it could well come out as a race-winning car, having started 8th on the grid. Through Le Beausset they go. In 4th place, also looking quick now, is Henry Tuamala. 1 or 2 of them, as you can see, skipping over the curb on the exit of Le Beausset on towards Bendor, then the Virage de la Tour. And for the race lead now, up into 2nd spot, I think has now gone. Strignano stays in 2nd place, forgive me, still 3rd is Iaquinta, but it's about to change on the pit straight, is it not? Because now Strignano lines up to have a dive on the inside, and he goes through, door open, really there by Fraboni, and also up and past him goes Iaquinta. So now 6 minutes to go, change for the lead, change for 2nd, and Patrick Fraboni left the door open, but he was always going to be vulnerable because he's just not been as quick as these two. So now Strignano leads legit rather than just on corrected times, but for how long? He's got Simone Iaquinta right there behind him. Iaquinta will try to make the move on this lap and dispense with Strignano as quick as he possibly can, as soon as he possibly can. They make that run again now down towards turn 3, and as they do so, Simone Iaquinta then started at that point 1/7 of a second back. Now, interestingly, Fraboni is staying with them. Maybe he's one of those drivers that finds it easier to chase than be chased, but he might well drop away, and he will, on corrected times anyway, fall away by 6 seconds. But at least on the road, he's not losing too much time just yet. Strignano, the leader, out of turn 7 onto the Mistral Straight once again. Here they come, the run now up towards the chicane, and as they accelerate up towards that part of the racetrack, there's another one in the pit lane, and that is Renaud Kuppens, who was leading in AM. Nobody wants to win AM, so we've had somebody crash out of the lead. Now Kuppens with what looks like mechanical woes in the pit lane, very disappointed. So Renaud Kuppens is out, and that's going to give the class lead to the only surviving car in it, the one of Gregor Moczulski. Here are the leaders then, heading up towards Signes for the 21st time. Fraboni in the background, you can see, is now just starting to drop away a little. And then in fourth, it's Tuomala. In fifth, it's Axel Bengtström. Sixth is the Pro-Am leading Paolo Biglieri, with now Anthony Pretorius second in Pro-Am, and Manuel Cristobal has fallen back into third in the class. So the leaders come up towards the end of the lap, and only 4 minutes to go. So Quinta now needs to get a bit of a hurry on. This car that you're looking at is number 5. That is the Gregor Moczulski, soon to inherit the lead of AM leading car. In Lamborghini Cup, it is still Peder Müller, the leader from Claude-Yves Gosselin. So Gregor Moczulski back into the championship in the GT3 Poland entry, down towards the Virage du Pont. Bit lonely for the moment, but he's on target for a category win in this opening round of the championship. As further back, more drama. Pretorius storms his way up the inside, makes contact there, look, with number 32, which is the car of Paolo Biglieri. So he's put himself now into the lead of Pro-Am, but in very forceful fashion. Anthony Pretorius, in his second season in the championship, means business, doesn't he? So Pretorius goes diving through, charges up past, and in this car taken over from Bronek Formanek now has hustled it into the lead of the category. You can see the damage done there to Paolo Biglieri's car, because the front bodywork starts to flap as up towards the line he now comes. And all of that is for 6th and 7th and 8th now. So Pretorius is ahead of Pietro Perolini, who was squeaked by as well. And then down to third in Pro-Am is Paolo Biglieri as they break for turn 1. Through the left, through the right, then back onto the power. The road stretches down towards the Virage du Camp, the first gear tight right, and then gradually you start to turn your way towards the Mistral and that long run back towards the start and finish area. So in Pro-Am, Anthony Pretorius, 6th overall, class leader. Doesn't have to do anything else, he just has to sit there now and hang on to the advantage as the leaders storm their way again up through Senior. And as they do, there for the race lead, it is Benedetto Strignano just fending off Simone Iaquinta, but they've got traffic ahead of them. And the first one to try to wriggle away through is going to be Strignano. This is where Iaquinta needs to try to work out where the gaps might be. The hesitation could possibly come more from Strignano. As I say, he's the first one to try to work out how to get through the traffic without leaving the door open for Iaquinta behind him. He commits to the inside line going into Bendor here, the long left. Iaquinta almost pushing him along, and still unable to get through the traffic is the race leader. So Benedetto Strignano having a really tough time of it here. Look, as the back markers now do open the door and let one through, then it'll be two through as they get down towards the Virage du Pont. Strignano leads the way still, and this is going to be the last lap, because the flying lap is about 2 minutes and 6 seconds, and we've got less than that on the clock. So on to the last lap they go. Strignano leads, but now to the outside line is Iaquinta, down towards turn 1. Iaquinta has just got his nose in front, but it's the wrong line for turn 1. He's going to have to cede the place surely. Strignano on the quicker line goes back through into the lead as they turn into the corner. The Oregon entry then still in the way, still can't dislodge it, and a big moment because the back marker Baptista gets tagged by the race leader and spins. That's done damage to the leading car of Strignano, and now Simone Iaquinta, without damage, has the momentum. He ought to be able to make a move here. How much, if anything, is that going to compromise the leader, Benedetto Strignano, on the Mistral? You can see the bodywork missing on the right front. Race control may also want a word about contact between the two of them anyway. But with this being the last lap, Benedetto Strignano leads Simone Iaquinta. This is the run now up towards the chicane. Iaquinta's car is the one without damage there, second, the grey car. But actually, Strignano has managed to survive that very well. I thought he was going to lose the lead on the run down towards turn 3. He's been able to redress the balance under braking for the chicane. Iaquinta gets much closer. Strignano hangs on. Now he's sideways, loses a little bit of momentum. Iaquinta again looks to be the smoother, looks to be on the prowl as they go up towards Senior. But Strignano drives a wide car and is able to defend. And Alberto Baptista then was the one tagged into the spin. Up the inside, not able to take the lead though is Simone Iaquinta, and he's still second. Strignano not as quick as Iaquinta. The gap was coming down and down and down, but what he's doing here is being able to position the car absolutely right, unless he gets any penalty for the contact with Adalberto Baptista at the start of this lap. Way up wide onto the curb goes Iaquinta. That ruins the run. Look, coming out of Labose, he lost time, lost momentum. The gap widens, but then wide goes Strignano, and that brings Iaquinta back into the mix as they come through Bendor. on now to the Virage de la Tour, up towards the last corner of the last lap, and it looks as though the battle-scarred entry of Benedetto Strignano is going to hang on, but only just. Let's see whether there's going to be a drag race to the line. Quinta tries to line the car up now, pulls the pin. Is he going to be close enough to dart out of the slipstream? I think the answer is going to be no. Checkered flag at the ready, and Benedetto Strignano wins a tremendous first race of Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. Benedetto Strignano and Nicola Pujati win from Kevin Gilardoni and Simone Quinta, who brings the car home second. Patrick Fraboni third on the road, and I think he had enough in hand over Harry Tuamala. We'll wait and see. He showed as being third still on the clock from Tuamala. Meanwhile, as far as Pro-Am is concerned, that's going to go the way of this car, number 11 of Anthony Pretorius, to bring it home ahead. 31 there. You can see heading up towards the line is Sergei Astafyev, who is a lap down, having had that car in second place early on in the hands of Jonathan Cecotto. So in his first race in the championship, big learning curve. And Astafyev comes through 21st, so that car really did fall away in the second stint. Pro-Am, though, won by Anthony Pretorius and Bronislav Formanek. The winning Lamborghini Cup car is yet to come, but the leading and now winning Am is Gregor Mokczulski. And this is Peder Müller, who is going to take honours in Lamborghini Cup and head for 13th place overall, ahead of Claude-Yves Gosselin and then Francesco Turzo. The rest of the cars still pouring over the line. And Gregor Mokczulski is the only finisher within Am. Big squeal of tyres in the background, suggesting somebody else has had a drama coming from Le Beausset, and that green light flashes, meaning there was a yellow before it, meaning that, yes, somebody has had a moment. Might have possibly been Philip Tang, who was at the back of the queue. Tang having worked his way up from last on the grid to 17th place. Actually quite a good drive. Here, though, up towards honours in in Lamborghini Cup is Peder Müller. Takes the checkered flag, and Peder Müller, class winner, along with, in that car, Nina Østergaard, who did the opening stint. So, as ever in Super Trofeo, lots going on, both on track and in terms of pit stops and penalties. One or two cars in need of a bit of repair work for tomorrow. That's Gregor Mokczulski then, the winner of Am. I say winner, true, but also the finisher in Am. And that's the overall race winner, Benedetto Strignano's car, with a big chunk of bodywork missing. But it's enough to take the race win. And Nicola Pujati, the Italian driver who started, Benedetto Strignano brings it home. And boy, did he have to work hard on that last lap. He had the contact with Adalberto Baptista, but it is under investigation. So this is it. Let's have another look. So the back marker is ahead. Strignano rides the curb. He's quicker anyway. Bit of a wobble from Baptista first, and then there was the contact. Strignano will say, I've got nowhere to go. He was having a moment, and I just couldn't avoid him. And contact made. You could argue that Baptista was going to spin anyway, irrespective of the contact, but race control will have a look. Tough one to call that, because Baptista kind of triggered it by having that moment riding the curbs, which unsettled the car. So that is the provisional winning car. Benedetto Strignano and Nicola Pujati. Out gets Strignano, a very happy man indeed, no doubt, and a really tough stint that, what with being caught, having to get past Fraboni, and, as we've just seen, coping with another Oregon car, but this one spinning in his way. For now, he's all smiles, but whether it will remain that way, we'll find out. Race 2 is going to be tomorrow for Super Trofeo Europe, before the cars have their next race weekend away from GT World and have their own event at Imola. But they race tomorrow just after 12:15 local time. So there, Nicolas Pujati arrives to celebrate with his co-driver. Gregor Mokczulski, a happy man after an Am victory. The Am class, not with that many starters for this opening race, but surviving it, key, and a very happy Gregor Mokczulski then. Spectacles off, will clamber out of the car. Steering wheel will come off to give him a bit more room. Oh no, he's all right. He can thread his way between the wheel and the cage. Getting in and out of modern-day race cars, not the work of a moment, but a delighted Gregor Mokczulski. class wins rather, have not been that common for him, but a good job done. Right, let's hear from our winners. Let's get back to Dakota.
Look, I said if Benny ever won a race, we would do it in Italian. So, Benny, finalmente hai vinto le gara.
Sì, finalmente una bella soddisfazione. Abbiamo lottato tutto l'anno scorso per cercare di vincere la nostra prima gara nel Super Trofeo. I miei complimenti per Nicolas, all'esordio siamo riusciti a lavorare bene insieme, lui non conosce ancora tanto bene la macchina, però è stato bravissimo. Ringrazio la squadra, tutti coloro che mi danno un supporto per essere qui oggi e dedico a tutti questa vittoria.
If you didn't understand what Benny said, he said it's very satisfying. Also, thank you to the team. Nicholas, obviously, who you don't know the car very well. Congratulations. Welcome to Super Trofeo. What a good entrance.
Yeah, it was crazy. The race, I mean, the pressure was high. My first time here in race. I arrived here on Tuesday. First time I see Paul Ricard. The car was special. My big teacher was special also. And thanks for all the team, all my parents, my brother, all one are here to support me. I'm really proud of myself and my teammate. We are.
Congratulations, ma Benny, una domanda. L'incidente? Che è successo?
L'incidente in uscita da curva 2, da T2, e lui non è tornato sul gas dove doveva tornare. Mi dispiace, però purtroppo io sono tornato sul gas e lui si è mossa la macchina e come si è frenato, quindi purtroppo succede. Mi dispiace, ma purtroppo.
So what he said is I was just asking him about the incident that happened, and he said he went in turn 2. Obviously, Benny tried to slam on the brakes, but just caught the back of him. So we'll see how that incident develops. But for now, they are the winners of the Super Trofeo Race 1.
Dakota, thanks. Yeah, provisional winners indeed. Benedetto Strignano and Nicola Pugiati. What a debut for Pugiati. Fresh out of Carrera Cup Italy into Lamborghini Super Trofeo. You can see the damage sustained in the incident with Adalberto Baptista, who did make it to the end, albeit in 19th place overall. So frustration and a race full of drama right from that opening lap. So Benedetto Strignano and Nicola Pugiati, the winners, from Kevin Gilardoni and Simone Iaquinta, Patrick Fraboni and Silas Rutter taking third place. And even if they hadn't been given that 5-second penalty for running off the road, well, they'd still be third, because in the end they were 7.6 seconds off the second place car. Anthony Pretorius and Bronek Formanek winning Pro-Am, and they are with Dakota.
A new pairing for 2026. Anthony, Bronislav, amazing race for you guys. Anthony, I don't think you had thought at the beginning of today that you'd be standing here. Congratulations. It was a mega race.
Oh, thank you. I think we pushed really hard in the race, and I think Bronek did an amazing job at the start to put us in a good position for my stint, and then from there it was just an overtaking game and tried to find my way past a few people. Obviously a bit tricky in these conditions with the heat, so it was definitely a tough race. Yeah.
Bronislav, you're happy with your new team? You can say in Czech too.
Yeah, I'm happy. Yeah, for the race.
Happy, very happy. Congratulations, guys.
Bronek Formanek, who quite often, to cover the trademark long hair, has his trademark woolly hat, but it's too hot for that even today. But he's got his Czech flag, the South African flag, draped around Anthony Pretorius. Class winners, off they go, back to the podium. No stranger to podiums in the last few years has been Bronislav, or Bronek Formanek. And he and Anthony Pretorius straight away making a good partnership. Race 2 tomorrow. For the bulk of the Super Trofeo season, it will be with GT World. Let's confirm that result as best we can. A win for Benedetto Strignano and Nicola Pugiati, we think, from Simone Iaquinta and Kevin Gilardoni, and then Patrick Fraboni and Silas Rutter taking third. Harry Tuomala and Matthias Salonen fourth, ahead of Mont Tallinn and Axel Bergström. Then you've got Bronek Formanek and Anthony Pretorius sixth to win Pro-Am from Josef Knop and Pietro Perolini. Eighth, Paolo Viglieri and a troubled Marzio Moretti, ahead of Manuel Cristobal and Paul Levey. 10th, Nathaniel Barabi and Hugo Giro. Get down to 13th and you find the Lamborghini Cup winning car, Peder Müller, Nina Östergaard. And you can see quite a lot of cars did not get to the end. Umar Basalah was 3 laps down, but learning about the circuit and also rebuilding his confidence after an off in free practice that actually cracked the chassis of the car. He's had to buy a new one in order to carry on racing this weekend. So, all action in the first race of the season in Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe. Let's have a look at a drama-filled 50 minutes that began with Alfio Spina running wide on the pit straight. putting wheels the wrong side of the white line and for gaining an advantage by being off the track, earning himself an early drive-through penalty. There was drama at the very first corner as well. Cecotto tried to get past poleman Silas Rutte. Rutte ended up running wide. He kept his foot in and rejoined in the lead of the race. And that, again, was deemed to have gained an advantage by being off the track, although Rutte might claim he was forced off. Either way, he got a penalty. The Oregon team was in for a busy day, though, as one car was leading and penalised. Adalberto Baptista had a spin when the pit lane opened for the regulation stops. 1 second too short was Fraboni, so another penalty came as Rodrigue Gillian crashed into the tyres and therefore undid Stéphane Lemere's work to put them into the lead of the AM class. On track, some great battles were raging on and getting ever so forceful, 1 or 2, as they tried to pick their way through the order. In the end, Benedetto Strignano dive-bombed Patrick Fraboni at the end of a lap to take the race lead with the even quicker Simone Iaquinta behind him. And Iaquinta could never quite find a way through as Anthony Pretorius got out his elbows to take the lead of Pro-Am. At the checkered flag, though, it was going to be all about this battle for the race lead, and it very nearly came undone when Baptista again was involved, hitting the curb, getting in the way of the leader. He gave him a tap in the tail, did Benedetto Strignano, and Baptista spun. But despite the damage, despite the loss of momentum, Strignano hung on in there to take the checkered flag and come through victorious. A win for Benedetto Strignano and Nicola Poggiati in race 1 of Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe for 2026. And for them and for the other top 3 drivers in each of the 4 classes, the podium awaits. The championship officials, along with the Circuit Paul Ricard staff, making sure they've got everybody they need, making sure that the trophies are there, the regulation caps are there, champagne is there, and then the drivers can be brought forward. A very busy weekend of action on track at Paul Ricard to round out a very busy week, because there have been test sessions as part of the prologue, the pre-season official test, if you like, and then paid testing during the week. Yesterday, a day of free practice, and today we are looking at both racing and qualifying. So photographers all happy, I think, and ready to go. Looking up the pit lane at the podium, all we need now are some drivers, because very shortly the circuit's going to go live for the GT4 European Series first qualifying session. And out come drivers then for our first podium. Patrick Fraboni and Silas Rutte for 3rd place in Pro, 3rd place overall onto the podium. Then the 2nd place, Kevin Gilardoni and Simone Iaquinta. And then our race winners for the top step of the podium, Benedetto Strignano and Nicola Poggiati. A really good drive to score honours in our first race of the season. So, congratulations to our 2 winning drivers, Nicola Poggiati and Benedetto Strignano, his first Super Trofeo success. Andrea Reggiani steps forward to hand over the trophies for 3rd, for 2nd, and for our race winners at the end of a very dramatic first race of the European season for Lamborghini Super Trofeo. And there is more of the same to come tomorrow. Race 2, just after 12:15 here at Paul Ricard tomorrow. We'll see you then.